Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Lords of the Fallen Randomizer, and where whether or not I like an enemy is highly determined based on whether or not they're currently kicking my butt, or Dark Souls builds and cosplays as invading them as them and kicking other hosts' butts. So you should go check out that Crimson Rector invasion video that they just put up because it's really good, and definitely not try and double check whether or not I absolutely despise Crimson Rectors because they heal enemies and how much they completely kicked my butt in the last video, versus me having a very nice time watching them kick hosts' butt and completely forget that I just completely despise and hate them. And we can also see whether or not I remember to use my lamp effectively this episode. But all jokes aside, I did preview enough to know that we're going to go kick the Congregator of Flesh's butt. And I completely forgot his name because I just associated him as the dog form of the Rotten from Dark Souls 2. I don't know if lore-wise the Rotten is a consumer of flesh, like Aldrich Devourer of the Gods, but in Souls-like it seems like eating people, even if you're about to die, is a terrible idea. Death is a sweet release compared to whatever agonizing pain that I don't even know whether or not it's alluded to if it's Saint Latimer, because he has Saint Latimer's relic spear, but Saint Latimer is also the hushed saint. So we know that I'm not a lore channel because my giant, the culminating statement of my one of the culminating statements of my Elden Ring level 13 challenge run is that Radigan can be inflicted with Scarlet Rot, which has some lore significance that I have no idea what it actually means. But what I do know is that, oh no, I'm forgetting all of these guys' names, but I've got two guys power stance wielding fiery axes, and then two guys using um, mace and holy infused shields, which is better than swords and boards because of strike damage effectiveness, which probably isn't in this game, but well, it's in Dark Souls too, so obviously strike damage effectiveness is really good, and I'm deliberately handicapping myself by not using a mace and using the sword that heals me when I defeat enemies. Clearly. Um, yeah, but at this point in Pilgrim's Perch, it is about to go get the blacksmith, and I think as I mentioned in last video, that the blacksmith it, they are important for two things: gem infusions and upgrading weapons that you have. Now, one of the bindings is that found weapons get upgraded, but from all of the random Duralium shards that I find, I can still get a weapon that is significantly higher in rank in upgrade level than the ones that I'm finding, and I might not necessarily find more of this particular weapon. Um, is not it's not necessarily like a guaranteed drop anywhere, and yeah. And also, the more upgrade slots of weapons have, the more gem slots that they can also have once I get those unlocked in lower Calrath. And in particular, having granted it won't be for a little while, there is a gem that I will stuff into a shield that does health regeneration over time, and then also if you defeat it will like double the effect of defeating enemies with the um, stacking with the sword, restoring health. So basically, with increased enemy density, it is waiting forward, mashing my attack, and hoping I'm not dead is surprisingly effective. And there is probably a more sophisticated approach to it, but armoring up and trying to be Havel the Rock it's working. Um, And in the words of my late grandfather, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if wading forward through enemies with a sword that lights things on fire and causes them to bleed and just destroy, and just wading through all the enemies works, we are gosh darn going to keep doing it. but even though but even though in concept very simple, having to block, dodge, manage stamina, all in all, is definitely more there is more to it. And this is Gerlin, who is our blacksmith, who, after we free her, will go to Skyrest Bridge, where we'll be able to continue to upgrade our weapons. Lore-wise, she has her friend Sparky and is looking for rune tablets. And if you give her all of the rune tablets, she'll turn Sparky into a rune, which is a little bit rude, but he's also withholding the knowledge of putting runes in weapons. Whether or not that is a good thing lore-wise is to be determined. Because in the Radiance ending, Aureus just sends, I guess, minor spoilers if you've, like, it's like the ending of Halo 2 where they have like the solar ray cannons obliterating all of the locusts, except it's holy magic shooting lasers, and yeah. And we aren't around any, and Aureus also evaporates us, so we can't really stop them from continuing giant amounts of laser-induced death. Whether or not that is supposed to be a good ending, I don't know. I have not got all of the other endings yet, so death by laser very well could be better than all sorts of weird stuff. Because like in Bloodborne, one of the endings you turn into a great old one. There's one ending where you wake up and you're cured and you're back in town, and another you take Gehrman's place. Now taking Gehrman's place is probably the least desirable, because if you're going to be stuck in a dream world, you might as well be an immortal squid monster. But you waking up could very well just be the best thing, where you can just like go home to your family. And yeah, and I think again, upgrading weapons is very important, because the scalings are the attribute scalings also improve. So the more agility that I have, the better my sword is going to hit. Every point of agility will do more damage with a higher upgraded weapon. Yeah, hopefully, if this isn't getting, if you're marathoning these, it's not too much of a broken record about the game plan that I'm going through with all of the different, with weapon upgrades and everything else. And the other nice thing about having a single focused stat is that it increases the javelins the throwing power of the javelins. Yeah, these bat guys are a little bit of trouble. Not a ton of trouble here, but in later areas like Fitzroy's Gorge, they definitely are tiny menaces. The real problem with the bats is if you're in Umbral trying to, like, if you're trying to cheese walking across an Umbral bridge by holding out your lantern and slowly stepping your way across, rather than going into Umbral and just running across, those guys can leap into you and knock you into Umbral without, like, basically they cause you to have your lantern to stutter a little bit, and as a result you fall to your death and then get put back on the bridge, and you're back in Umbral, but you're at a disadvantageous position because there are little laughing bat creatures all around you. So those guys, in they are they're tricky. They are, but they're also not as fun as Kite Guy from Sekiro, just going wahoo and just flying in with an explosion. Like, Kite Guy is legendary.
So, butchers and Adir, Mr. Fuck name's Damaros.
Yeah, and then here we have Damaros the Marked, who I didn't really follow their quest line very well in terms of my first playthrough by cleansing the first beacon, and then Damaros got mad at me because I was going on the path of the Radiant's End by doing the thing I was told to do. Uh, I know, um, quite interesting, isn't it? Where you do the thing that you're supposed to do, and then the NPCs get mad because they didn't know you're supposed to just leave the like go up, look at the thing, and leave it untouched. And now here is a a sin piercer. It is a boss, but the sin piercers do reappear as enemies later, closer in the Mance of the Hallowed Brothers, and they hit you very hard, and they also hit very hard whenever they appear in the randomizer, because um, getting impaled with arrows is not something that I want to do. And there it was a little bit not optimal because unlike in some of the Souls games, when you're on the ground like that, you can just wail on, like when enemies are on the ground, you can just wail on them. It is probably better to like wail on them, and then as they're standing up a little bit more, then heal to gain the stamina back. But all in all, still a very clean fight. Like the I think part of it is I have a weapon that's higher upgrade level than it's supposed to be, and I think it, overall, Lords of the Fallen bosses are a little bit easier and more forgiving than my experience in some of the FromSoft games. This could just be because I have played Lords of the Fallen after all of those games, and just from cumulative experience and having seen these bosses before, things are going very smoothly. But that's not to discount the this is a Souls-like game with a bunch of enemies that can absolutely kick your butt, just like in last episode where I got kicked around by Crimson Rectors a lot. So, if anything has given you trouble, uh, it's a very valid struggle, and I wish you swift revenge on all of the enemy on all of the PvE that has defeated you. And it is kind of cool that in this game you can avenge other players. And like, that mechanic is really cool. And then this absolutely hideous monstrosity a Congregator of Flesh, or a Hound Rotten. And I do appreciate not having lava in the arena that will immediately kill me, though he does try and poison me. Yeah, again. So, yeah, this guy's just very big. He can jump around and he hits hard. And again, the poison, I guess he also summons, radiant swords to attack me. Again, now part of why I can just push forward through a lot of this is I have the enhanced banner javelins, which are not accessible at this point in the game. So I have a lot more healing available to me just from ammunition than um, than a vanilla playthrough. So I'm able to just walk up and start wailing away. And having noticed that he has no posture left, I believe I'm going to go for a nice, yeah, just, I kicked him, but he just got all of his poise reset. Oh well, victory is ours. But I was going to say, in like the after lore video, like again, it is almost kind of like in Helsing, where it's like the major who's like almost dead, except where the major refuses the blood to become a vampire. Um, yeah, because there's very clearly an Aureus priest that eats the flesh of someone and turns into a giant monster. Or because those radiant swords are still after me, there was a different NPC somewhere that was sending radiant swords to attack me while I was in the boss fight, which if that's the case is incredibly rude that they were attacking me in the boss arena. And there, so I don't know if I will experiment with it much in this one, but the Skin Stealer Spear is an agility scaling spear that has higher burn buildup than Bloodlust. So I think at least for a little while I do power stance and test it out to see whether or not the damage plus the extra ignition buildup is worth it. But I think where I end up is just two-handing Bloodlust is the way to go, especially later once I have a shield that has a gem slot that allows me, well, rune slot, that allows me to have passive health regeneration over time. And with levels in, because you get an extra ammo capacity every 2 combined, like for every 2 points in vigor or endurance that you get a extra ammo slot. So if you're not spellcasting and you're using throwables or like crossbow bolts, like wanting to get like those 2 levels to get another piece of ammo is always it's very, very desirable to try and get like a 2 points into health or stamina. And honestly, that's also just a very good mechanic on encouraging people to put points into health so they don't die. Yeah, the Lucent Sword Shield. I think that is that one. I believe it is its second and third rune slots can be slotted with any type of rune. Any type of rune. Um, so, and yeah, because that is what I was using in my invasion videos with Derva's greatsword, and I had a couple of health regen runes slotted inside of it, and it works out very well in both invasions and PvE. Yeah, and honestly, like, this is, I think, like, I know, like, swamp areas, especially if they, like, restrict your movement, are not always the most fun, but, like, I love this swamp area. I don't know what it is, or if it's just because it's good for, like, there's like a couple areas that are just really nice for invasions in Lords of the Fallen, but like this is a really good swamp. I think it also helps that like the Hushed Saint's a really nice boss fight as well. Because I'm like the the other like really good swamp that sticks out in my memory is actually way back in Jet Force Gemini for the N64. Um, Tofrit Bog. The lore of this location is that there are little teddy bears that are living on this like lush green foresty planet, and they get invaded by insects, primarily like ants and beetles. And because one of the villages got destroyed, one of the tribal shamans casts a curse that it works, but it kind of backfires because it infects the land and like turns everything into like zombified swamp. And you need to like specifically like shotgun or rocket the heads of the zombified bugs, otherwise they just don't die and will just eat ammo like no other. And like the setting is, if you were a kid playing through that, and you'd just be like, what did I just walk into? Like it is truly, it is a horror level in a third person action shooter game, and was one of I don't know, it was just an incredibly memorable video game experience that just kind of like cemented at least that particular swamp as just like one of the coolest like change of pace levels in gaming for me. And I think probably because it's like the combination of like when you're not in Umbral, you're wandering around and like you're slowed down, but once you're in Umbral, all of the water disappears, so you can just run at like top speed going through collecting stuff, which is which is really neat. Um, yeah, cause yeah, I know that I probably said like there are certain areas of the game where it's like the transitions between Umbral and normal are very like are well integrated. Like the swamp, it's just integrated very well, and it's a very fun level to explore and play, even if I do get like I don't think I'm going to be getting considerably lost, but it's like the first time I was playing it, I was getting turned around and being like, did I explore this area? Maybe. I don't know. I guess I'll defeat these enemies and see what's going on. So, yeah, and all in all, a very fun area, and it is also has one of the largest invasion like area, like the warrior village it just has a very big area for invasions with lots of enemies, so it feels like more like a bit more like a traditional FromSoft game invasion where you're going through the entire castle. And there I probably should have lamped off, tried to like lamp that guy off rather than just use a javelin. But I did use my brain and defeat him and not get thrown off the Umbral Bridge and end up more permanently in Umbral. So, and as we see later, I will do my best to remember when I'm actively playing and not doing a voiceover to use my lamp to not die a horrible death from flaming spiking nails that light you on fire and explode. Um, yeah, yeah. These guys do not care about whether or not you're blocking. They They basically have a Zweihander on fire and are not afraid to absolutely swing it in your face and impale you with nails that all magical nails that also light you on fire. Um, it's just a little bit of a theme. Ah, yeah, the Light Reaper will. It'll be a while, but we'll get back to you. We will defeat you, and because I think, yeah, the Light Reaper's a required boss because you have to go backwards through Upper Calrath and fight him in order to get to Brahma's Castle, the final area of the game. And with that, it's closing in. We're on the end of the video, so I just want to say thank you for your time. I hope the I hope all of the chat's enjoyable as I duck through hordes of enemies that are, well, they're not supposed to be here like some of the Rogar guys. So again, thank you all so much for watching. Have an amazing day, and I will catch you in the next video. See ya!